Welcome to this tutorial. It's Rivershaw doing an MCIOB application mentoring tutorial. And wow, we're on commitment to professionalism and professionalism, judgment and responsibility 3.1. So if my maths is correct, this is the 12th report in a series of 14. So what are we saying here? What's the note say at the bottom? It is advised that for best results, candidates wishing to complete this report first review the Rivershaw MCIOB application mentoring tutorial. This competence tutorial is part of a learning program. Well, that's just in case this is your first unit. So let's see what we're going to do. At the end of this course, this specific unit, you'll have an understanding how to break down the report brief into workable sections, if there's more than one. Actually, I understand from this unit, there is just one. Have an understanding with respect to content, what is required in this report. Be able to QA your report in accordance to the benchmarks set by the CIOB. And having done that, with that knowledge, with that informed knowledge, be able to access additional guidance and support if required. Here comes my best statement, which I say in all of these units. Please, please, please. Oh, bouncing up and down. Give yourself and your studies the respect and time they deserve. So set time apart. Unchallenged times, unstressed times, times when you're not tired. And once you get into writing your reports, a good benchmark or a good time scale is if after 40 minutes you're still working, take a break. So your report will remain fresh, and that way you will complete the application timely and correctly. Let's move on. Course content. In this report tutorial, there will be general guidance. Now, in all of the reports, there is general guidance and specific guidance, dependent upon what we're trying to give response to. So we will look at the competence report brief, and from that analyze what should be the content, and have a look at some good reference points which you can build your responses to. We will also look at its general guidance, report planning, report production, and as mentioned before, be able to quality assure your report and make known to you the additional resources that are available. And we'll complete the course with generally showing the contact details. And I guess I will say, because I've done so many of these before, oh, thank you for watching and trust that this has been helpful. General guidance. Now, this is a very interesting point. Make the example that you give very interesting. Now, on this particular unit, we're talking about ethics, doing the right thing, going the additional mile out of your normal roles and responsibilities. And we'll explain why. Shine. So give a really, really good example and go into details. Come back to the 50% later. Professional. I normally state here that everyone in the construction industry is a professional, from labourers, trades, advanced trades, supervisors, managers, and then you have those at a senior rank who work at a professional level. So what is the difference between a professional level and a manager's level, management level? Managers work within practices and procedures, and when they become against issues or problems they cannot resolve, they upscale them to someone in the hierarchy who works at a professional level. Persons at a professional level review the issues, address the issues, and if necessary, adapt, change practices and procedures, and then pass that information down to managers so that the issues can be dealt with, and dealt with not just for that in that case, but for the life of the company moving forward. So that's what professionals, that's what managers do who are working at a professional level. And they also seek guidance from other professionals. And that is particularly important for this report. And then they reflect and evaluate on what has happened and then produce or recommend more actions following reflection and evaluation. Because at no given time does a construction manager, no matter if they're working at a professional level or not, do they achieve 100% success at first attempt all the time. No, that's not realistic. But what we do is when we implement things, we reflect, evaluate, monitor, and then address with those results, and then reflect, evaluate, or reflect, monitor, evaluate, and address, and we go on that development cycle. Now the 50%, normally I apply that to units where there are more than one examples required. But in this particular unit, we're looking for one example. And it is a profiling exercise. Let's not steer away from that. What we're doing here is we are completing an application form, and it's a profiling exercise to show how you operate according to the CIOB standards and recommendations and regulations. So let's push on. This is the report brief, and I've titled it Ethics, Going the Extra Mile. And what does the report brief say? Based on your own experience, you should describe in detail an occasion or an incident. So you can see that this brief in itself lends itself to one very good example, because you've got to describe in detail that occasion or incident that has required you to exercise your professional judgment. In this section, your professional judgment relates to an occasion or an incident where it would be regarded as beyond your normal sphere of activities in your role, and where you were challenged because of the situations you faced and the consequent ethical decision you were required to make. Let's unpack that a little bit further. Ethics is about going the extra mile. So tip of the day, think of an example we had to make a professional judgment. Make sure it is out of your normal sphere of work. Well, I think what we'll do now is look at some guidance. So what have I written here on our prepared guidance? The purpose of this section is to ensure that members of the Chartered Institute of Building apply appropriate standards of professionalism in their duties based on CIOB rules and regulations of professional competence and conduct, and here comes a bit, their duty of care. So identify a situation where professional judgment was required and how it was demonstrated. Issues could be behavioural, contract, and may include reference to members of the public. Identify involvement with decision makings that perhaps protect the general public. Display knowledge of personal limitations. Now this is important. We are not required in this report to be the font of all knowledge and the expert in every situation. But at a professional level, we want to see in this report how you identified the limitations of what you knew and of what you could achieve. You may be an expert in your role and responsibility at work, but you might not be a legal expert. Or if it was behavioural, you might not be a behaviour expert. Or if it's an employment issue, it might not be an employment issue. If it was a boundary issue or had something to do with other people, we're not expected to be the expert subject matter in all areas, but we are expected to identify our limitations and to be able to contact other sources of expertise as and where necessary. So, report brief analysis plan. May I suggest, as already mentioned, what is required here is one example where you have exercised your professional judgment in regard
to an incident or occasion in line with the direction given in the rules of the CIOB. So what are those rules? Well, I'll put a few below. Let's have a look. Members shall, in fulfillment their professional responsibility, let me slow that down. Members shall, in fulfilling their professional responsibilities and the duties which they undertake, have full regard to the public interest. Is the public involved? Members shall demonstrate a level of competence consistent with their class of membership. Competence means knowing your limitations and also knowing when to call in the experts or other professionals, other expert professionals, as and when required. Now we're looking at number 3, which is really important at the heart of this report. Members shall at times act with integrity, and in doing so, so as to uphold and enhance the dignity, standing, and reputation of the Institute. But also, if you are involved, and we're looking for an incident when this did happen, you're also upholding and the dignity of the construction industry per se. Members shall discharge their duties with complete fidelity and probity, and ensure when providing an advisory service that the advice given is fair and unbiased. So that when we do reach out to those other professionals, we don't take the information at face value, but we have a responsibility to weigh that up, to see that the guidance and the advice that is given is in the best interest to achieve the required outcome with integrity. There are other rules and members for membership, and please look at that. Members shall not maliciously or recklessly injure or attempt to injure, whether directly or indirectly, the professional reputation, prospects, or business of others. So there's an example. Did you go out of your way to protect the reputation of other stakeholders in the industry that you're working with? You know, a little mud sticks, and sometimes when something goes wrong, the mounting of a good reputation can be undermined completely. A company's reputation can be undermined with just a disproportionate amount of negative feedback or mud slinging. So we're there to protect others and the industry. And members shall not discriminate on the grounds of gender, race, or ethnic origin, sexual orientation, marital status, creed, nationality, disability, or age, and shall seek to eliminate such discrimination by others to promote equal opportunities for all. Well, in that rule, number 16, there are obviously doing the right thing with integrity. Perhaps you can consider an example. So having looked at some of the rules of the CIOB and seeing where this report could be going for you, please select an appropriate example. Typical example or incident occasion requested must contain the following: must be beyond your normal sphere of activities, must be a challenging incident or occasion, must be a challenging ethical decision. There was an ethical decision to be made. Are you going to do the right thing? And will you weigh up what the results of doing that right thing were? And were you of a disposition that actually you stood morally to do the right thing, even if there was a cost? Because normally there is. In making an ethical decision, it is necessary to understand and eliminate unethical options in order to select the best ethical alternative, regardless of cost. Subject matter, so it could be, you're talking an example, it could be behavioural, contractual, and may reference to members of the public. And when you write up your report, you need to demonstrate how you become aware of the incident,
and you must demonstrate how you exercise your professional judgment, the processes and the procedures, and how you recognised your own limitations and reached out to get the professional assistance of others. So that's what this is all about. This report is all about going the extra mile, ethics, doing the right thing outside of your normal sphere of activities. So, useful points of reference, CIOB rules and regulations, we've had a look at those. And there's a link which has more details. Other useful points of reference, external advice source, rules and regulation that govern the process and outcome that you are dealing with, meetings and processes which enable you to manage and bring about that ethical decision. Well, we've nailed this more or less right now, I would imagine, but tip, always give an example that is interesting, that demonstrates your professional ability to manage and bring direction. And in this point, it is beyond your normal sphere of activities. That's dealt with the content of this report. So, what are we going to do? This is how you plan your report. This is general guidance using a CARL plan as advocated by the CIOB. The C stands for state the circumstances and how, in this case, how you became aware and what was the issue. And having become aware and what was the issue, the A is what actions did you take? What were the results on those actions is the R, and how you reflected and evaluated on those actions and how you had to address any amendments to those actions. And the L is learning going forward. And notwithstanding, not forgetting what external resources you use, what external professional resources you used to bring about the required result. And it may be that the required result was unachievable, but nevertheless, the ethics within the industry and within a member of the CIOB would say, even if we didn't achieving the desired outcome is not necessarily the most important thing. In the C, the A, the R, and the L. And then once you've dumped them in, then sequence your bullet points in the right order in which you want to deliver the story or the account. And then once you've done that, turn your bullet points into a written account, and that will end up as a narrative account. And then as you reduce your word count to make sure that it fits into your application, by taking away any unnecessary words and narrative, you'll find that a narrative account automatically gets turned into, by the editing process, into a report. Well, that's that. So, have you in your report demonstrated an understanding and application of professional judgment and responsibility, including ethical decision making? That's the question you will need to ask. And have you used an example which is beyond your normal sphere of activities? And have you used reflection and practice and evaluation on the effectiveness of the actions? And particularly in this case, have you recognized your own limits of expertise and completed the shortfall by seeking the advice of other professionals in other branches of the industry. We want a good pass criteria, and so now you learners. And at any given time, we learn best using a particular means. And at Rivershore, we try to create all of those learning environments, and it's called a blended learning environment. So we've created guidance notes, and you've seen some of those. And this is a video. You're experiencing that at the moment. We also provide guidance Zoom meetings and individual report reviews and application guidance review for those candidates that work externally. Simply, with a limited word count, in the correct style, with the correct content, and it's well written in good English. And it could be the case that you've never written at degree level, or that you need some literacy support, and that could be that English is not your first language. So for those candidates, and for any other reason, we do provide literacy support to take away the insecurity, and so that candidates will have confidence in that what they are submitting on their application what our candidates think about us. There's a link. Feel free to copy that and see what their candidates have said in the past.